Sometimes the people we care about most can hurt us the worst. Family ties are super strong, stronger than just sharing the same blood, sometimes even stronger than what's right or wrong. Up in the Colorado Rockies, Jacob Thorne lives all by himself on a mountain. For 8 years, he's made it through freezing winters that would stop weaker folks and scared off outlaws who know he's tough. When his sister Clara shows up after 10 years of not seeing each other, what she says shakes him up big time. She wants to stay and help him live in the wild. But her promise means more than just sticking by family. What's she really offering? And what's it gonna cost them both? Before we keep going, tell us where you're listening from. And if you like this story, hit that subscribe button because I've got something super cool for you tomorrow. The morning fog stuck to the pine trees like spooky ghost hands as Jacob Thorne stepped onto his cabin's old porch. At 34, his face had lines from seeing too much hard stuff and not talking much. 8 years alone on the mountain made him tougher than the rocky peaks around him. His dad's old hunting rifle, a Winchester Model 1873, sat on his shoulder, feeling both safe and heavy, like a big responsibility. It was the last thing he had from his dad, Samuel Thorne. Jacob always did the same stuff every day. Check his traps, take care of the smokehouse, and watch the valley for strangers. The Rockies don't mess around, and people who forget that don't usually get a second chance. He was known for being fair but super tough, which kept most trouble away. This October morning felt weird, though he couldn't say why. The air was chilly, hinting at early winter, and there was a funny feeling that made his horses antsy in their corral. Jacob trusted those gut feelings. They'd kept him alive when others ended up as wolf food. His cabin was built smart, where 2 mountain paths met, so he could see anyone coming. The cabin was strong, with thick log walls sealed with mud and moss, a stone chimney that worked great, and windows placed for protection, not just views. Every piece of wood and nail was picked to make his home like a fortress because up here it had to be. A memory hit him out of nowhere, like they sometimes do. Clara, when she was 14, with her dark hair in a braid, helping their mom in the veggie garden back at their Kansas farm. Even then, she was brave, catching snakes with her bare hands and laughing when Jacob freaked out. Their dad used to say Clara was tougher than most grown men, and that turned out to be sadly true. That was before the fire, before everything went wrong, before Jacob ran west with just guilt and his dad's rifle, leaving behind a sister he couldn't save and a family name he was too ashamed to use around people. Jacob shook off the memory and focused on now. Surviving meant paying full attention to the present. The past was something he couldn't afford to think about, not with winter coming and the Garrett brothers getting bolder in his area. Word from the trading post said they were up to something, but nobody knew what. The Garretts ran the lower valleys like bosses, pretending to be respectable, but really just stealing land and cattle, protected by crooked judges and scared witnesses. They left Jacob alone because fighting him wasn't worth it for his small patch of land. But that could change if they got desperate. He was checking his last trap when he heard it, someone whistling Amazing Grace on the breeze. Only one person ever whistled that song so perfectly, making it sound beautiful and haunting. Jacob froze, his blood turning cold. When he looked, there she was. Clara stood by the trees 50 yards away like she'd popped out of the morning shadows. She wasn't the 14-year-old kid he remembered. Now 24, she looked amazing but also scary. Her dark hair was longer, hanging loose, and her clothes, worn leather pants and a thick wool coat, showed she'd been through tough times. But her eyes were what stopped him. They carried a heavy look, like she'd seen the worst things people can do, and still came out alive. These weren't the bright, fearless eyes of his little sister. These belonged to someone who'd been through hell. "Hey, Jacob," she said, her voice carrying that same musical sound he remembered, but with a new toughness underneath. It's been a while. He couldn't talk or move. The rifle felt heavy, and for a second, he wondered if this was a dream from too many lonely nights and too much whiskey. Clara stepped closer, moving like she knew the wilderness as well as he did. When she got near enough for him to see a small scar above her eyebrow, one he didn't know about, he knew she was real. "You're taller than I thought," she said, stopping just out of reach. "And you need a shave." Her simple comment made him laugh, a rough sound he hardly recognized. "Clara, oh my gosh, how did you find me?" "It wasn't easy," she said. "Took 3 years of asking shady people the right questions." She looked at his face closely, making him feel uneasy. "You've been hiding good." "I'm not hiding," he said. "I'm living." Sometimes that's the same thing, she replied, looking at his cabin and the way it was set up for defense. You've built a real fort up here. A guy's got to be ready, he said. Yeah, he does, she answered, her tone saying she'd learned that the hard way. Jacob, I need to talk about that night, what happened after you left. Her words hit him like a punch. He'd spent 8 years trying not to think about that night, the choices he made, and the sister he left behind. Clara, no, he said. Let me say this, she insisted, stepping closer. He could smell the wood smoke in her hair, her leather clothes, and something that was just her, from when they were kids. You thought you let me down. You thought leaving was weak. It was, he said. It was surviving for both of us, she said, touching his arm. The touch felt familiar but also new, almost making him pull away. What you don't know is what I turned into after you left. Before he could ask what she meant, she went on. I've been looking for you, Jacob, not to blame you or drag you back to face what we ran from. I came because I need you, and I hope you need me too. The morning sun cleared the fog, showing the wild beauty of the mountains. Standing with Clara, Jacob felt something shift inside like ice breaking in a river. Dangerous, but needed. Stay for coffee at least, he said. We can talk. Her smile wasn't like the kid he remembered. This one held secrets and promises, like she'd walked through fire and came out different. I hoped you'd say that, she said. As they walked to the cabin, Jacob noticed how she moved, always watching for danger, just like he did. She'd learned to be careful through hard lessons, just like him. Whatever happened to his little sister in those years had made her as tough and beautiful as the mountains. The rifle felt lighter now, like sharing his burden made it easier. He opened the cabin door and let Clara go first, noticing how she checked for threats inside before stepping in. Nice place, she said, looking at the simple but strong furniture. Practical. It works, he said. She turned to face him, and for a moment they just stood there, brother and sister. Strangers but close, separated by years but tied by blood stronger than time or distance. Jacob, she said softly, there are men looking for me, bad men. By coming here, I've brought trouble to you. What kind of trouble? He asked. The kind that ends with people dead, she said, looking him in the eye without fear. I won't lie. I've done bad things, terrible things, but I did them to survive and to find you. He set the rifle by the door, close enough to grab, but positioned so Clara couldn't take it without him knowing. Old habits. Looking at his sister now, he wasn't sure who she'd become. Tell me, he said simply. As the sun rose higher over the Rockies, Clara started talking, her voice steady, her eyes locked on his, telling him about the dark years that led her back to her only family. Outside, the wind got stronger, smelling like snow, promising a winter unlike any Jacob had faced. But for the first time in 8 years, he wouldn't face it alone. Whether that was a blessing or a curse was still unclear. Clara sat in the rough chair by his table, moving carefully, like she was always ready to run. Smart. Jacob poured coffee from the pot, always simmering on his stove. Strong stuff that could wake anyone up. Remember how Dad took us hunting? She asked, taking the cup with hands rougher than he remembered. He'd make us sit still for hours, just watching, learning the forest. I remember, Jacob said, sitting across from her, noticing how she sat to see the door and window. You hated sitting still. I learned to like it later, she said, sipping the coffee without flinching. Patience became a way to stay alive. Something in her voice made Jacob's chest tighten. Clara, what happened after I left? Where have you been? She stared into her cup for a long time, then looked up with eyes that seemed far away, like she'd seen things he couldn't imagine. Kansas burned, Jacob. Not just our farm, the whole place. They called it Bleeding Kansas. People fighting over slavery, others using it as an excuse to kill. I heard some of it in Denver, he said. Guys talked about the troubles. Troubles, she said with a laugh that wasn't happy. That's a soft word for what I went through. After you left, I stayed with the Hendersons for 3 months. Nice folks, religious. They screamed when Quantrill's raiders came in '63. Jacob's blood went cold. Quantrill's Confederate raiders were known for being brutal, more like monsters than soldiers. Clara, I was 16 when they took me, she said, looking at him steadily, daring him to look away. I won't tell you the awful things they did or made me do, but I learned stuff. Jacob, I learned mercy is only for the strong. I learned you either die weak or live with blood on your hands. The coffee tasted like dirt in Jacob's mouth. His brave, innocent sister had been through hell while he was learning to trap animals and mine gold. "How'd you get away?" "I killed 3 of them," she said, her voice steady. "Cut their throats while they slept. Took their horses and guns and rode west. I was 17, Jacob, already a killer." The silence between them was heavy, filled with her confession and the ghost of the girl she used to be. Jacob had seen fighting, done it when he had to, but hearing his sister talk so calmly about killing was new, especially from family. "The years after were tough," Clara went on. "I worked in saloons when I could find honest jobs, other stuff when I couldn't." She paused, letting him get what she meant. "Men see a woman alone out here and think they can take what they want. I made them see danger instead." Jacob's hands gripped his cup tight. The idea of Clara, his Clara, going through that while he built his quiet mountain life felt like a knife in his chest. "Why didn't you find me sooner?" "I wasn't ready," she said. "I was still becoming who I needed to be." He saw something metal under her coat, a gun ready to grab fast. "I spent 5 years learning to fight, Jacob, really fight. Not just to stay alive, but to win. I found teachers in weird places. An old scout who lost his family, a Chinese guy who escaped the railroad wars, a woman in Nevada who could shoot a card at 20 steps. It was all coming together, showing a picture of his sister that was amazing and scary. "You became a gunfighter." "I became what I needed to be," Clara said, her smile cold. "And when I was ready, I started looking for you. 3 years, Jacob, chasing rumors, bribing telegraph guys, tracking every Samuel Thorne who left Kansas after the Troubles." "Samuel Thorne's dead," Jacob said quietly. "Been dead 8 years." "I know," she said. "But Jacob Thorne's alive up here, and that's who I came to find." She touched his hand, sending a spark through him. "I came because you're my only family, and because men are hunting me who won't stop till I'm dead." Before he could answer, she went on. "There's a sheriff in Colorado Springs named Coleman. He's got a warrant for me for killing 2 deputies and a marshal in New Mexico. They tried to arrest me for something I didn't do, but they wouldn't listen. So you killed them," Jacob said. "They drew first," she said, her eyes hard. "But Coleman doesn't care. He's offering $500 for me, dead or alive. That's enough to bring real trouble up here." Jacob thought about what that meant. $500 was a lot of money, enough to attract bounty hunters and killers who didn't care about the truth, just the cash. "There's more," Clara said. "The Garrett brothers know about the bounty. They want to collect it to buy more land and power. They know about you, Jacob. They know we're family. That changed everything." Jacob had kept peace with the Garretts for 3 years, based on respecting each other's space and strength. If they thought they could profit off his family, that peace was done. "How do you know about the Garretts?" "I keep track of threats," Clara said, her hand moving toward her hidden gun. "I've watched them for 2 weeks, learning their moves. They're planning to come before the first snow when the paths get risky. They want to grab me for the bounty and kill you for your land." Jacob felt a cold, familiar feeling, the one he got before a fight was coming. "They can try," he said. "This isn't a game, Jacob. There are 7 of them, all killers. Thomas Garrett fought with Sherman in Georgia. He knows how to fight a war." "So do I," Jacob said, moving to the window to check the trees. Nothing moved, but that didn't mean much. "The question is, what do you want me to do?" Clara joined him at the window, standing close enough that he felt her warmth. "I want you to let me stay. Let me help you get ready for what's coming. Together we can take on the Garretts or Coleman or anyone else. And after, when spring comes?" She looked at him, her dark eyes searching his face. "I don't know. But I'm tired of running, Jacob. I'm tired of being alone. This place," she waved at the cabin and mountains, "feels like home. The first real home since we were kids." The choice weighed on Jacob like a heavy stone. Letting Clara stay meant letting in her trouble. It meant war with the Garretts and whoever else came after her. It meant changing his careful, quiet life. But it also meant having family again, someone who knew his past, who shared his good memories before everything went bad, someone who wouldn't judge him for what he'd done to survive. "You can stay," he said finally, "as long as you want." Her smile lit up her face, and for a second he saw the bright, fearless sister he remembered. "Thank you, Jacob. You won't regret this." As the afternoon sun shone through the cabin windows, casting long shadows, Jacob wondered if that promise could hold. Watching Clara move around his home, checking the defenses like she belonged there, he realized regret might not matter as much as having someone to share the long winter ahead. Outside, the wind howled, and a wolf cried somewhere far off. But inside, for the first time in 8 years, Jacob wasn't alone. The rifle leaned by the door, his dad's legacy, ready for whatever trouble came. Now it would protect more than just one man. It would protect family, blood, and the complicated feelings stirring between a brother and sister who'd changed in their years apart. Winter was coming to the Rockies, and with it, a fight that would test every skill they had and every bond they'd built. But as Clara settled into Jacob's life, they both felt the real test wouldn't be from outside enemies. It would come from inside, from feelings that shouldn't exist between siblings who'd found each other against all odds. 3 days passed in a way that felt new, but familiar. Clara fit into Jacob's routines like she'd always been there, but her being there changed everything. She woke before dawn to check traps, moving quietly across the cabin floor, avoiding creaky boards. She cooked with stuff he forgot he had, making meals that reminded him of their mom's kitchen. But it was the little things that threw him off most. Her humming their mom's old songs while working. How she sat in the evening light fixing his clothes with perfect stitches. The way she moved around his space without crowding him but making the cabin feel smaller and more alive. On the 3rd evening, she found the gold locket. Jacob was outside chopping wood when he heard her gasp. He dropped the axe and rushed inside, hand on his gun. Clara stood by his bed, holding something small that caught the lamplight, sending golden sparkles across the walls. It was their mom's locket, hidden in a box under his bed with old letters and maps. "You kept it," she said, barely whispering. "I kept a lot of stuff," he said, moving closer like she might run off. Maybe too much. Clara opened the locket with shaky fingers, showing a tiny picture of their mom, young and hopeful. Martha Thorne, who thought her kids would grow up safe and good, never imagining the darkness that would take them. "She was so beautiful," Clara said. "I almost forgot." "You look like her," Jacob said, "especially your eyes." Clara's laugh wasn't happy. "Mama never hurt anyone. Never had to choose between surviving and being good." She closed the locket with a soft click. "This belongs to someone I used to be." "It belongs to my sister," Jacob said. "Then and now." The words hung heavy between them, full of meaning they didn't dare look at too closely. Clara looked at him, and Jacob saw something soft in her face she'd hidden since she got there. "Jacob, I need to tell you why I really came." Before he could answer, horses approached, and Jacob's blood went cold. Nobody came up the mountain at night unless they meant trouble. Clara moved fast, the locket disappearing into her coat as she grabbed her gun. "How many?" she asked. Jacob peeked through the curtains. 3 riders on the East Trail." "Not Garrett's." "I don't know them." He grabbed the Winchester. "They're armed for a fight, not a chat." The riders came out of the trees 50 yards away, their horses snorting in the thin air. Even in the dark, Jacob could tell they were pros, spreading out to cover all sides, weapons ready but not obvious. The leader called out, "Jacob Thorne, we need to talk." "Talk from there," Jacob yelled back, staying hidden. "I'm Sheriff Coleman from Colorado Springs." "I'm here about your sister." Clara's face went pale. "He found me." "We've got the cabin surrounded," Coleman said. "We don't want to fight." "Send her out, and you can keep your quiet life." Clara's hand gripped Jacob's arm, her touch burning. "I won't let them take me, Jacob. I'd rather die here than hang for killing men who had it coming." Her fierce words stirred something deep in Jacob. This was his sister, his family. These men had no right to her. "What's it gonna be, Thorne?" Coleman shouted. $500 says you choose smart." Jacob moved to the door, rifle ready. "She's under my protection, Coleman. You want her? You go through me." "That's dumb, mountain man," Coleman said. "3 of us, 1 of you." Clara stepped beside him, gun drawn. "2 of us." Seeing her ready to fight with him sent a wild feeling through Jacob. This was right, family standing together. "Last chance," Coleman yelled. "Send her out, or we come in shooting." "Come on then," Jacob called. "But some of you won't ride home." The silence stretched tight, then Coleman's voice, cold and mean, said, "Your funeral, Thorne." A shot broke the front window, glass flying everywhere. Clara dropped low, firing back with perfect aim, her bullet knocking one man off his horse. Jacob kicked the door open, stepping onto the porch, his rifle, firing. His shot hit another rider square, the man's scream echoing off the mountains. Coleman turned his horse, shooting wildly as he ran for the trees. "This ain't over, Thorne." Another shot from Clara's gun made Coleman's horse stumble, throwing him hard against a tree. He got up, running into the shadows. The silence was loud after that. Gun smoke mixed with the smell of blood and horse sweat. Two men lay dead in the dirt, gone in seconds that felt like hours. Jacob looked at Clara, really looked. She stood in the doorway, gun still aimed at the trees, calm as a statue. No shaking, no shock, no regret. This was a woman who'd killed before and would again without blinking. "We need to move the bodies," she said, like it was no big deal. "And check what they had. Coleman'll be back with more." As they dragged the bodies away, Jacob watched Clara work, checking the men's stuff like she'd done it 1,000,000 times. $600 total, she said, holding up a pouch. "Good horses, good guns. Coleman's serious about that bounty." "Clara," Jacob grabbed her arm as she reached for a rifle. "What were you going to tell me before they showed up?" She stood slowly, her eyes hard to read in the moonlight. "It can wait. We got bigger problems." "No, tell me now," he said. She was quiet for a long time, then said softly, "I didn't find you by chance, Jacob. I didn't spend 3 years looking just because you're my brother." "What do you mean?" She looked at the mountains, the endless wild that had kept them safe. "I mean, I've loved you since I was 16, not just as a sister. I came here not just for safety, but because I can't live without you." Her words hit Jacob hard, rearranging everything he thought he knew. The way she looked at him, the spark when they touched, the feeling she belonged here. It wasn't just family. It was something deeper, wilder. "Clara, I know it's wrong," she said, her voice steady. "I know it's against everything we were taught, everything good people believe. But I've been through hell, Jacob. I've seen what people call good, and the only true thing left in me is how I feel about you." Her confession was like a loaded gun, dangerous and final. Jacob stared at his sister. This woman who'd fought beside him, killed for him, and just broke every rule he'd tried to live by. "We can't," he said, but the words felt fake even as he said them. "Can't we?" Clara stepped closer so he could smell the gunpowder on her, the warmth of her skin. "Who's going to stop us, Jacob? God? We're already in trouble. Society? We're already outcasts. Family. We're the only family we got." Before he could answer, she touched his face, her fingers tracing a scar on his jaw. "I've killed 12 men, Jacob. 12. I've done stuff that would make angels cry, but nothing feels as right as what I feel for you." Her touch broke him. 8 years of loneliness. 8 years of thinking he was beyond saving. 8 years of walls around his heart, all gone in that moment. When he kissed her, it felt like coming home and falling into trouble at the same time. She tasted like hope and wrong, like the sister he lost and the woman he found. Her arms wrapped around him tight, like she could keep them safe from the world's judgment. They pulled apart, breathing hard, staring at each other in the moonlight. They'd crossed a line. "No going back. We're going to hell for this," Jacob whispered. Clara's smile was sharp and beautiful, like a dangerous flower. "Then let's make it worth it." Far off, an owl called in the night. The dead men lay where they fell, proof of the violence that brought Jacob and Clara together. Somewhere in the dark, Sheriff Coleman was planning his next move against the siblings who'd chosen each other over everything. The locket lay forgotten in the cabin, their mom's innocent face staring at a ceiling that would soon hide sins she'd never have guessed. But for Jacob and Clara Thorne, innocence was long gone. What they had was love, twisted and forbidden, but stronger than laws or right and wrong. If the world wanted to judge them, it could try, but it'd have to survive them first. Dawn came too fast and not fast enough. Jacob woke to find Clara dressed, standing at the window with coffee steaming in her hands. Her hair was braided back, practical, making her look younger, like the sister he remembered. But the Winchester by her side told a different story. "Coleman's still out there," she said without turning. "Saw him in the trees an hour ago. He's watching." Jacob pulled on his boots, his body sore from last night's fight. 2 men dead because of his choices. Because he protected his family. It should have bothered him more, but it didn't. "Let him watch," he said. "He won't try anything alone." Clara turned, her eyes tired, not from no sleep, but from years of being chased. "More will come. Men like Coleman don't quit, especially with money involved." They ate breakfast quietly, the easy vibe of the past few days gone, replaced by something heavier. Every look meant more now. Every accidental touch sent sparks through them. That kiss had changed everything, made the impossible real and scary. Clara found the wooden cross while washing dishes. It had fallen during the gunfight, landing behind the water basin. She picked it up carefully, looking at the simple carving their dad made during their last Kansas winter. "Remember when Papa made this?" she asked. "You were 14 whining about Sunday church." "I remember," Jacob said, watching her trace the lines with her finger. He said faith wasn't about the church or preacher. It was about what's in your heart. What would he think about what's in our hearts now? Her question felt like a blame. Their dad, Samuel Thorne, was a religious man who taught them to put family first. But he'd never imagined family like this. "I don't know," Jacob said honestly. Maybe he'd get that love looks different in tough times. Clara set the cross on the table, its shadow like a judgment. Or maybe he'd say we've lost our way so bad we can't tell right from wrong. Before Jacob could answer, a whistle came from the forest. Not a bird, but a person signaling they came in peace. Jacob and Clara were at the window in a flash. A tall, lean man stepped out of the trees, hands empty. His clothes, buckskin pants and a wool shirt, marked him as Native American, his long hair braided with feathers and beads. "Running Bear," Jacob said, recognizing him. "He's a traitor, harmless." "Nobody's harmless," Clara said, but she stepped back. Jacob opened the door and stepped out, staying ready but relaxed. "Running Bear, you're early this season." The Cherokee trader smiled, showing stained teeth from years of tobacco and coffee. "Winter's coming fast. Animals feel it. Smart to trade now before the paths close. Your place ain't on my usual route. What brings you?" Running Bear's eyes flicked to the cabin where Clara stayed hidden. "Word spreads fast up here, Jacob Thorne. Word of gunfire last night. Word of a woman who fights like 10 men. Jacob felt Clara tense. "Just some claim jumpers who didn't know when to stop," he said. "Claim jumpers." Running Bear nodded, serious. "Sure, not bounty hunters or lawmen from Colorado Springs. Just claim jumpers with federal badges." The old trader knew more than he let on. Jacob could tell from his face. Running Bear survived 40 years in these mountains by knowing everything. Info was worth more than furs or gold. "Got something to say?" "Say it clear," Jacob said. "I got something to trade," Running Bear said, pulling out a folded paper. "Info for info." Jacob took the paper, unfolding it slowly. His heart sank as he saw the wanted poster with Clara's face and a list of her crimes. "Where'd you get this?" "Colorado Springs," Running Bear said. "Posted yesterday. Sheriff Coleman's got 20 men, all armed with federal power. They're coming here in a week, 20 men." Jacob's mind raced. Even with Clara's skills and his knowledge of the land, those odds were impossible. "What do you want for this?" he asked. "I want to know about the woman. Is she as dangerous as they say?" Clara stepped into the doorway, her presence grabbing attention. Running Bear's face changed from curious to amazed. "You're her," he said. "The ghost woman who killed 6 men in Taos without a scratch." "6," Jacob said, looking at Clara, who shrugged. "I might have downplayed my past a bit." Running Bear studied Clara like she was a rare weapon. "The tribes talk about you. Say you move like smoke, fight like thunder. Say you're blessed or cursed by spirits." "What do you think?" Clara asked. "I think you're the most dangerous woman I've ever seen. And your brother's a fool for keeping you here." Jacob stepped forward, mad. "Watch it, old man." "No offense," Running Bear said, hands up. "But 20 federal men won't care about your reputation. This mountain won't save you." Clara stood by Jacob, her shoulder touching his, sending warmth through him. "Then we leave," she said. "Tonight, before they get here." "Run where?" Jacob asked. "How far can we go in winter with 20 men after us?" "As far as we need to," she said. Running Bear watched them, his face blank. "There's another way," he said. "What way?" "The old mine, 2 miles up the north face? Abandoned for 10 years, but the tunnels go deep. Enough supplies there for 2 people to last a winter. Easy to defend." Jacob knew the mine, had checked it out years ago when he first came here. The entrances were hidden, the tunnels tricky for strangers. "It could work," he said. "Why help us?" Clara asked. Running Bear's smile held secrets. "I know what it's like to be hunted for things you can't control. And I don't like federal marshals who think badges let them ruin lives. Also, I think you two have something special worth protecting." His words hinted he knew more about their relationship than he should. But native wisdom often saw truths others ignored. "We'll need supplies," Jacob said, deciding. "Food, ammo, medicine. I can get what you need, but it'll cost," Running Bear said. "How much?" "All the gold you've got hidden here. And a promise." "What promise?" "That you'll remember who helped you." I might need help someday, too. Jacob looked at Clara, seeing his thoughts in her eyes. They were signing up for a winter of hiding like animals. But the other choice was splitting up or dying. Deal, he said. Running Bear nodded. Pack light. Leave the rest. I'll meet you at the mine at sunset with supplies. As the trader disappeared into the forest, Jacob and Clara stood on the porch, looking at the mountain that had been his home for 8 years. No going back now, Clara said softly. No going back, Jacob agreed. You scared? She looked at him, eyes steady. Not of hiding or running or 20 marshals or Coleman. I'm scared that when this is over, you'll think this was a mistake, that you'll see only the wrong in me, not the love. Jacob kissed her knuckles, a gesture once brotherly, now full of new promises. Then you don't know me as well as you think. I've already chosen. Whatever we are, whatever we become, I choose you. I choose us. The wooden cross lay forgotten inside, its shadow meaningless now. Outside, 2 people who'd found each other against all odds got ready for whatever came next. The sun rose, burning off the fog, showing the wild beauty of the mountains that would soon be their hideout and jail. Somewhere below, 20 armed men were getting ready to hunt them with ropes, guns, and federal power. But Jacob and Clara had something stronger than law or numbers. They had each other and a love forged in fire, tempered by blood. It had to be enough because in less than 12 hours, they'd vanish into the mountain's heart, leaving behind who they were to become something new, dangerous, and pure. Something that could save or ruin them completely. The photograph fell from Clara's journal while she packed for the mine. Jacob picked it up without thinking, then froze. It showed their family happy and whole. His dad's strong hands on their mom's shoulders, Clara at 8, grinning with missing teeth, Jacob at 12, trying to look grown up. The edges were torn, but their faces were clear, untouched by the darkness that would claim them. I didn't know you kept this, Jacob said, voice rough. Clara took it carefully, looking at the people they used to be. I took it before the fire. Thought it might be the only proof we were ever a real family. We're still a real family, aren't we? Jacob asked. Clara's laugh wasn't happy. Look at us, Jacob. Killers hiding in the mountains, about to live in a cave like animals. Is that what family means now? Before he could answer, she went on, her voice harder. I've been thinking about last night. The kiss, what I said. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe some lines shouldn't be crossed, no matter how much we want to. Her words hurt after he'd chosen her over everything. Clara, no, listen. She moved to the window, keeping distance. I spent 3 years telling myself what I feel is love. But maybe it's just 2 broken people holding on to the only thing that feels familiar in a world that tried to destroy us. Jacob felt cold inside. Is that what you think this is? Desperation? I don't know the difference anymore, Clara said, her reflection in the glass looking haunted. I've been alone so long I'd believe anything to not be alone again. Her words cut deep. Jacob saw her shoulders stiffen, saw her fear of what they'd almost chosen. You want to know what I think? He said, stepping behind her, close enough to feel her warmth. I think you're scared. You've survived by never wanting anything you couldn't fight or kill for. And this love we feel, can't be won with a gun or knife. Clara turned, tears in her eyes. What if we're making a mistake, Jacob? What if we're ruining the only good thing we have left? Then we ruin it together, he said, touching her cheek. As family, as whatever we choose to be. The other choice is spending our lives wondering what if. For a moment, Clara leaned into his touch, eyes closed. Then she pulled away, moving to the door fast. We gotta go. Running Bear's waiting, and Coleman's men might come early. Jacob watched her pack with quick, automatic moves. The soft woman who'd shared her fears disappearing, replaced by the tough survivor who'd killed 12 men. The photograph stayed on the table, forgotten. 4 faces from a simpler time left behind like everything else. The climb to the mine took 2 hours through rough land. Clara moved like a shadow, silent even on loose rocks. Jacob watched her, amazed at how she picked the safest path without thinking. Where'd you learn to move like that? He asked during a break. An Apache tracker in Arizona taught me the mountain tells you everything if you listen right, she said, her voice distant. Also said never show all your skills, even to family. She looked at him, moonlight on her face. Especially family. They can hurt you worse because they know where to hit. Her words stung because they were true. Jacob had spent 8 years thinking he'd failed his family, leaving them when they needed him. Clara spent those years thinking her family left her to face hell alone. Trust, once broken, was harder to fix than houses or lives. Running Bear waited at the mine entrance with supplies packed tight like a soldier. Jacob felt this wasn't the first time the trader helped people hide. "Food for 3 months," Running Bear said. "Ammo, medicine, tools, lamp oil, blankets, even some books to keep your mind busy." "Books?" Clara asked, surprised. "Long winter nights need something for your head," he said. "Or people stuck together think too much, fight too much, sometimes hurt each other." Again, Jacob felt Running Bear knew more about them than he said, but his silence was part of how he survived. "Federal men hit town this afternoon," Running Bear went on. 23, not 20. All armed, all serious. They'll hit your cabin at dawn, but they'll find it empty." "How long before they find this place?" Jacob asked. "If you're careful, leave no tracks, maybe never. This mine's forgotten except by old-timers. The Cherokee used it as a holy place before miners came. The mountain keeps secrets." Running Bear handed Jacob a wrapped bundle. "Maps of the tunnels. Study them. 3 entrances, 2 lead to caves that go for miles. If you gotta run, you can come out far away unseen." As they moved supplies into the mine, Clara studied the tunnels like a pro. The passages were carved by gold-hungry men, twisting deep into the mountain. Side rooms branched off, some natural, some blasted. "It's perfect," Clara said, her voice echoing. "Easy to defend, hidden with escape routes. We could hold off an army." "Let's hope it doesn't come to that," Jacob said. They set up camp in a big chamber 100 yards from the entrance. Running Bear picked a good spot, dry with good air and a chimney to let out smoke. Old miners left tools, equipment, even stone furniture. "Home," Clara said, but she didn't sound happy. Running Bear left quietly, leaving them with supplies and their messy feelings. Jacob set their bedrolls on opposite sides of the chamber, a choice heavy with meaning. "Afraid I'll jump you in your sleep?" Clara asked, noticing the distance. "Afraid I won't control myself if you're too close," he said, surprising them both with his honesty. Clara stared at him in the lamplight, her face hard to read. "Jacob, about what I said earlier." "Don't," he stopped her. "Don't take it back or make it smaller. We said what needed saying. Now we deal with it." "And what's that mean?" she asked. Jacob looked at their stone hideout, the supplies for months of hiding, the woman who'd turned his life upside down. "It means we learn to live with ourselves and each other. We find out what we're made of when everything's gone, and if what we feel can survive the hardest tests." Clara nodded, like she was accepting a dare. "Then let's get started." They spent the hours before dawn sorting supplies and checking nearby tunnels. Clara had a great sense of direction underground, mapping the place with the same skill she used with guns. When they finally rested, they lay in separate bedrolls, listening to the mountain's sounds, dripping water, wind in hidden paths, old stone settling. It was a different quiet than above, older and deeper. "Jacob." Clara's voice was soft in the dark. "Yeah? Whatever happens, whatever we become, thank you for choosing me, for not turning me away when any smart guy would have. No smart guy ever had a sister like you," he said. Her quiet laugh echoed off the walls. "No, I guess not." Sleep came, but Jacob's dreams were full of marshals, wanted posters, dead innocents, and crosses judging empty rooms. In his dreams, Clara's voice whispered promises, but when he reached for her, she vanished like smoke. When he woke, faint light came through the mine entrance and distant hoofbeats echoed. Coleman's men had come, too late to catch them, but early enough to find the empty cabin and start a hunt that would shape the winter. Clara was awake, sitting against the wall, cleaning her guns with care. She looked up when Jacob moved, and for a second he saw fear she was trying to hide. "It's starting," she said. Outside, men shouted, their voices full of federal power and bounty hunter greed. But inside the mountain, 2 runaways got ready for a fight that would test everything they thought about love, family, and what they'd do to protect both. The photograph stayed in the cabin. 4 smiling faces watching nothing, proof of an innocence gone forever. But something new was growing, harder, more complicated, and way more dangerous. Whether it was salvation or ruin was still unclear. As the search party spread over Jacob's old land, the siblings who'd chosen each other settled in to wait out the storm. Winter was coming, and with it, a fight to see if their bond could survive the darkness ahead. 3 weeks in the mine changed them in ways Jacob didn't expect. Living so close, sharing meals, space, and quiet in the lamplight, made a tension that grew stronger daily. Clara's hidden derringer, a small gun in her boot, became a sign of secrets they still kept, even after confessing so much. Jacob found the gun by accident when Clara's boot slipped during a tunnel walk. It fell with a clang that echoed like a blame. "Insurance," Clara said, grabbing it before he could look closely. "A woman alone keeps a last option." "You're not alone anymore," he said. "Aren't I?" Her smile was cold. "Look at us, Jacob, hiding in a hole, scared to see daylight. Is this together or just a fancier way to be alone?" Her words hurt because they were true. 3 weeks of living like cave people wore them down. They talked less, moved around each other carefully, like strangers. The breaking point came during a huge blizzard. Snow fell for 3 days, sealing them in, while wind screamed through the tunnels like ghosts. Clara paced like a trapped animal, her energy filling the space with danger. Jacob tried to give her space, but in their stone jail there was nowhere to go. On the third night, she snapped. "I can't do this anymore," she said, her voice breaking as she threw down a book she wasn't really reading. "I can't pretend hiding like rats is some fun adventure." Jacob looked up from a map, seeing the wild look in her eyes, her shaking hands. "What do you want me to say, Clara? That this is easy? That I planned for us to live like moles?" "I want you to say something real," she said, standing fast, knocking over their lamp. Jacob caught it before it broke, the flame dancing wild. "I want you to admit this was a mistake, that we should have run, that we're going crazy down here." "Run where?" Jacob's patience broke. "How far would we get in this storm? Freeze or get lost?" "At least we'd die free," Clara said, her eyes burning. "Not buried alive in this stone tomb." Her words cut deep. Jacob set the lamp down slowly. "You think I trapped you here?" "That this was my plan?" "I think you're scared," Clara said, stepping closer, her voice quiet but sharp. "I think you brought me here to control me, to keep me where you can watch me, not face the world's judgment." Her words hit like punches. He'd watched Clara pull away for 3 weeks, her wild spirit crushed by stone walls and fake light. He thought it was temporary, that spring would bring her back. "Maybe you're right," he said softly. "Maybe I'm scared, but not of what you think." Her anger softened. "What are you scared of, then?" "I'm scared of losing you," Jacob said, his voice raw. "If I let you run, give you the freedom you need, you'll vanish, and I'll spend my life wondering if you're alive or dead." His words seemed to take the fight out of her. She sank onto her bedroll, looking young and tired. "Jacob, no." "Let me finish," he said, kneeling beside her. "I'm scared what I feel for you is desperation dressed as love, that I'm using our situation to justify things that shouldn't be." Clara looked at him, tears shining like stars. "I'm scared what I feel is real, the only good thing I've got, and that makes it too dangerous to keep." Their honesty hung heavy. Outside, the storm raged, but inside, a different storm peaked. "Come here," Jacob said softly. Clara shook her head. "We can't, not here. Not like this. It'd be wrong for all the wrong reasons." "Everything we've done is wrong for the right reasons," Jacob said, touching her cheek, wiping tears. "Maybe that's what love looks like for us." When she kissed him, it wasn't wild or scared. It was on purpose, a choice they both understood. Her lips tasted like regret and hope, like the last good thing in a crazy world. They made love on rough blankets in the lamplight, their shadows dancing on the stone walls like ancient drawings. It was soft and fierce, gentle and desperate, everything wrong and everything needed. Afterward, they lay together, listening to each other breathe. "Now we're really in trouble," Clara whispered against his chest. "I know, regret it?" Jacob held her tighter, feeling her heart beat. "I regret a lot," she said. "The fire that split us, the years apart, the violence that brought us back. But this? No, never this." She was quiet so long he thought she was asleep. Then softly, "I used to dream about you, even when things were awful. I dreamed you'd forgive me, see me and not the terrible things I did to survive, that we could go back to who we were." Jacob stroked her hair. "We can't go back, Clara. Those people are gone." "I know," she said. "But maybe we can build something new, something better, that honors our past while accepting who we are now." Her words carried a promise they didn't dare look at too closely. Outside, the storm roared, but inside, 2 broken people found something worth protecting. When morning came, or what passed for it underground, they moved with new awareness. The careful distance was gone, replaced by a new kind of tension. They touched more, talked more, shared space like people who'd crossed every line that mattered. Clara laughed again, her bright sound echoing like music. Jacob found he could make her smile with childhood stories she thought she'd lost. They made new routines, exploring the caves together, planning shelter upgrades, talking through long nights about everything but what they'd do in spring. The Derringer stayed in Clara's boot, but it wasn't a secret anymore, just another tool in their survival kit. Trust, once broken, was starting to heal. But even as they found peace in their stone hideout, the world above kept hunting. Coleman's men set up camp in the valley, waiting for spring to find them. The Garrett brothers, mad about missing the bounty, looked elsewhere. And somewhere out there, new people were hearing about the siblings who chose each other over everything. Winter kept them safe for now, but spring would bring challenges they couldn't imagine. For now, they had each other, a love tested in fire and strong enough to face any judgment. The mountain kept its secrets, and in its heart, two people who'd found each other prepared for whatever came next. Sure, their love could handle anything. The blood-stained map showed up like a slap, found when Jacob looked for medical supplies after cutting himself in the tunnels. Hidden under Clara's spare clothes, wrapped in cloth that smelled faintly of old blood, it marked the land between Kansas and Colorado. Each red X was a death, 12 of them, just as Clara said. But seeing them spread across miles made her words real in a way that chilled him. "You weren't supposed to see that," Clara said calmly from behind, like she'd been waiting for this. Jacob turned, seeing her in the chamber entrance lit by lamplight. 12 men, he said, voice rough with shock and awe. "Across 3 territories. 13, actually," she said, stepping in, her steps silent. "The map doesn't count the one from last week or the 2 at the cabin. Blood's hard to wash out after a while." Jacob looked at her, searching for any sign of the sister he thought he knew. But her face was calm, professional, like they were talking about the weather, not a trail of bodies. "Tell me about them," he said. "All of them. I need to know who you've become, what I'm protecting." Clara sat on her bedroll, ready for anything. The first was in Lawrence, Kansas. A drunk who thought a lone girl was his to take. I stabbed him with a kitchen knife while he tried to rip my dress. Jacob waited, knowing there was more. The second was his brother, looking for revenge. Fair fight. He drew first, but I was faster. Word spread about the girl who could fight. That's when I knew running wasn't enough. Her eyes held darkness Jacob hadn't seen, choices no 19-year-old should make. "Men like that don't stop, Jacob. They hunt in groups, share info. Kill one, 2 more come. Let one live, he brings friends." Her logic was cold, practical, learned from the wrong people. It scared Jacob to hear it from the girl who used to catch fireflies. "So you kept killing," he said. "I kept surviving," she said, leaning forward, her voice sharp. The third was a bounty hunter in Dodge City, hired to drag me back to Lawrence. The fourth was his partner. The fifth, a deputy marshal too nosy about me. Jacob looked at the map, tracing her path of death. Each X a choice to kill rather than be killed, to become harder instead of a victim. "The 6th through 9th were in Taos," Clara went on, her voice far away. "Card players who tried to cheat me, then wanted more when I had nothing left. I killed them all in 30 seconds. Running Bear said 6 in Taos," Jacob said. "He doesn't know everything," Clara said, her smile cold. "The sheriff and deputy tried to arrest me for making trouble. They're in the same unmarked grave as the card players. 8 dead in one night." Jacob tried to picture his 20-year-old sister facing 8 men and walking away unhurt. It should have scared him, but he felt proud too. "The rest? 10th was a ranch foreman in Colorado Springs who thought he could buy me for a night. 11th was his boss with the same idea and better friends. 12th was a federal marshal tracking me for 6 months." She paused, her hand near her hidden gun. "That's when I knew they'd never stop. That's when I decided to find you." Jacob folded the map, seeing how her trail of blood led to his mountain. "You came because you were tired of running." "I came because I was tired of being alone with what I'd become," Clara said, her voice softer. "And I hoped with you I could remember who I was." "Have you remembered?" Jacob asked. Clara looked around their cave, at the bedrolls where they'd loved, the supplies keeping them alive, the brother who'd chosen her over everything. "Some things," she said. "Your laugh. How you read to me when I was sick. How safe I felt with you. But I can't undo what I am, Jacob. Those 13 men are dead. That blood trail always leads to me." Jacob sat beside her, feeling her warmth, smelling the soap in her hair. "I don't want you to undo anything," he said. "Those men tried to hurt you, use you, destroy you. You survived. You fought. You got strong enough to make them pay. Most would call that murder, she said. Most never had to choose between killing or being a victim, he replied, taking her hand, feeling the calluses from her gun. I'm not most people, Clara. I'm your brother, and I'm proud you became someone who can't be broken. His words broke something in her. Tears fell, but she didn't sob, like she'd forgotten how after years of being tough. Jacob, no! He pulled her close, feeling her relax in his arms. You think you're terrible for surviving? I think you're amazing. Strong enough to walk through hell alone, skilled enough to make enemies pay, smart enough to find family when you needed it. Clara buried her face in his shoulder, her voice muffled. I was so scared you'd see the map and think I'm too dangerous to love, too broken to save. Jacob laughed, the sound bouncing off the walls. Clara, you're the most dangerous woman I know. Also the most beautiful, smartest, strongest, and the only one I'd trust with my life. Why would that make me love you less? His words surprised them both. They'd avoided saying love for weeks, using it for family or history, not what was growing in the dark. Do you love me, Jacob? Really love me, not just as a sister? Her question was a challenge, demanding truth that could change everything. Yes, he said, rough but sure. God help me, yes. I love you as a brother should and shouldn't, as a man loves a woman he'd die for. I love every part of you. The girl you were, the woman you are, whatever you're becoming. Clara looked at him, tears shining, something deeper in her eyes. Even knowing what I've done? Especially knowing, he said, wiping her tears. I don't want a weak flower who'd break in trouble. I want a woman who stands with me when hell comes, who's been through fire and came out stronger. Her kiss tasted like salt, gratitude, and promises they didn't fully get. They made love again, desperate but tender, like they could heal each other's scars by being close. Afterward, lying together, Clara spoke softly against his chest. The Garrett brothers killed our parents, Jacob. Not raiders, not random. They wanted our land for cattle, and Papa wouldn't sell, so they burned us out and made it look like an accident. Jacob froze, rage building. How do you know? Thomas Garrett told me 3 years ago in a Colorado Springs saloon, she said. He was drunk, bragging about building their business, mentioned a stubborn Kansas farmer who wouldn't listen. He admitted killing our parents? He said he killed lots who got in his way. Papa was just one. Her voice shook with 3 years of anger. That's when I started planning to find you. We've got more than surviving to do. We've got justice to get. Her words changed everything. Her arrival, her skills, the bounty hunters. She wasn't just running from her past. She was aiming for revenge. You're planning to kill them, Jacob said. I'm planning to make them pay for what they took, Clara said, touching her hidden gun. Will you help me or try to stop me? Jacob stared at the stone ceiling, thinking through it all. The Garretts destroyed his family, stole his childhood, made him a hermit, turned Clara into a killer. They'd taken everything, leaving only pain and guilt. I'll help you, he said. But we do it smart. Plan carefully, choose our moment, and make sure we live to see justice done. Clara's smile was sharp, beautiful like a deadly flower. I hoped you'd say that. Outside, winter held the mountain tight, but inside, 2 broken people prepared for a spring of reckoning. The blood-stained map lay forgotten, its red marks planning new ones. Justice was coming, carried by a brother and sister who knew love sometimes meant damning yourself for family. The wanted poster with Clara's face came with the spring melt, brought by Running Bear with news that flipped everything. But the second paper, a birth certificate dated 7 months ahead, broke Jacob's world. You're pregnant, he said. Clara stood at the mine entrance, sunlight on her face for the first time in 4 months. She'd grown pale underground, but Jacob saw other changes. Her fuller face, tighter clothes, her hand resting on her flat belly. 2 months, maybe 3, she said calmly, like it was no big deal. I wasn't sure till recently. Jacob felt the world shift. A child. Their child, born in darkness, growing toward a future they hadn't planned. When were you going to tell me? When I figured out what it means for us, our plans, everything, she said, turning back to the shadows. A pregnant woman can't fight like I do, Jacob, can't run, hide, or kill her way out. The news hit like a landslide. Their plans for revenge, the spring fight against the Garretts, were impossible with a baby coming. There's more, Running Bear said, holding up a new wanted poster, the ink fresh. Federal marshals issued this yesterday. The bounty's doubled. Jacob read it, his blood cold. wanted for murder, resisting arrest, and corruption of family morals. Clara finished. They know about us, Jacob, what we are to each other. The world had named their sin, made it a crime worth $1,000. How do they know? Coleman, Running Bear spat. He's talking, saying he saw proof of unnatural stuff at your cabin. Clara laughed. No joy in it. Unnatural relations. That's what they call it? Doesn't matter what they call it, Jacob said, anger rising. It doesn't change what we are or mean to each other, doesn't it? Clara said, touching her belly. I'm carrying your child, Jacob. Half the law in 3 territories wants to hang us for it. How do we raise a baby as wanted fugitives? The question stung. Jacob had planned a war, but war wasn't for pregnant women or unborn kids. We run, he said. California, Oregon, somewhere they don't know us. Run where? Clara said, frustrated. That poster will be everywhere from here to the Pacific in a month. Telegraphs spread news faster than horses. Running Bear cleared his throat. There's another way. Dangerous, but possible. They looked at him, desperate for options. Mexico, he said. Across the Rio Grande, where American law can't touch you, I know people who can make you disappear. New names, new lives, a fresh start. Mexico, Jacob said, picturing himself as a farmer or shopkeeper, speaking Spanish to kids who'd never know their real past. That's not running. That's vanishing forever. Forever might be what it takes, Clara said, hand on her belly. Our child deserves to grow up without bounty hunters. Gunfire echoed from the valley, cutting them off. They moved to watch the paths to their hideout. Coleman's men, Running Bear said, but they're shooting each other. Through the trees, Jacob saw figures moving like soldiers, surrounding Coleman's camp. The sheriff and his men were caught in a trap, fighting for their lives. Who are they? Clara asked, using Jacob's binoculars. Garrett brothers, Jacob said, dread growing. They're taking out the competition. The fight lasted 10 minutes. When the smoke cleared, Coleman and his men were dead, their bodies scattered. The Garretts and their men took weapons and supplies, then vanished into the forest. They don't care about the federal bounty, Clara said, lowering the glasses. They want us for their own reasons. Running Bear nodded. Thomas Garrett's asking about you two, especially your relationship. He doesn't want justice. He wants revenge for looking weak. Jacob saw the bigger picture, more dangerous than bounty hunting. He knows we hurt his reputation with Coleman's men. Every day we're free makes him look bad. More than that, Clara said. He knows about the baby. Jacob stared, shocked. How? I told him, Clara said, flat and emotionless. 3 weeks ago, when I scouted their camp, I let him see me, let him think he caught me weak. You did what? I needed to know what we're up against, she said, her smile sharp. I played the scared pregnant woman, told him about the baby, how I'd do anything to protect it. Clara, that's crazy, Jacob said. No, it's smart, she said, eyes hard. Now Thomas Garrett thinks he's got us. He thinks he can use our child to make us give up. Running Bear looked at her with awe. You set a trap. I set a trap, Clara said, and now we spring it. Jacob felt Clara's plan revealed depths he hadn't seen. What kind of trap? The kind that ends with the Garretts dead and us free to go to Mexico with our child, she said, checking her gun. But you gotta trust me completely, even when it looks like I'm betraying you. Her words felt heavy, like a funeral cloth. Clara had planned this, since she knew about the baby, using it not as a weakness, but a weapon. Tell me, Jacob said. Clara looked at the valley where Coleman's body lay, where the Garretts had shown their plans with blood. Tomorrow night, I'll surrender to Thomas Garrett. I'll say you died in a mining accident. I'll beg him to spare our child for info about your gold. Jacob's blood froze. Clara! And while he's distracted by gold and revenge, thinking he's won, you'll kill every man he brought to this mountain. Her smile was beautiful and terrible, like a flower on a grave. By the time he knows I tricked him, it'll be too late for him, his brothers, anyone dumb enough to stand between us and freedom. The plan was genius, insane, and likely to get them killed. But it was their only shot to end the threat and protect their child. And if it goes wrong? If he doesn't believe you or kills you anyway? Clara touched her belly, where their child grew like hope in hard ground. Then you make sure our baby never knows. Cowards! You make the Garrett name die, and you take our child to Mexico to grow up free. Jacob looked at the woman he loved, his sister, the killer, the mother-to-be. She'd risk everything for their child's safety. I won't let you do this alone. You won't be alone, Clara said, fitting into his arms like a puzzle piece. You'll be where you need to be, doing what you do best. When it's over, we'll vanish to Mexico and never look back. As the sun set, painting the sky red and gold, they prepared for their biggest gamble. Their child grew in Clara's womb, unaware of the fight planned for its safety. Tomorrow would bring justice for the men who ruined one family and tried to ruin another. But tonight was for Jacob and Clara Thorne, for a love that survived every test, for promises made in darkness that could save or doom them. The wanted posters lay in the dirt, fading. But the child they called a crime would soon see justice done, one bullet at a time. Their dad's silver pocket watch ticked down the hours to Clara's surrender, its rhythm marking time that felt endless and short. Jacob held it, watching the hands move toward their fate, uncaring of the lives at stake. 6 hours, Clara said, checking her weapons, her moves precise, hiding her fear. Sunrise is at 4:45. I'll be ready by then. They'd spent the night planning every detail, covering every what-if. Clara would approach the Garrett camp from the east, acting desperate. Jacob would watch from a ridge with clear shots at every path. 17 men, Jacob said, checking Running Bear's info. Thomas, William, Marcus Garrett, plus 14 hired guns. All killers. All cocky because they think they're chasing a pregnant woman and a dead man, Clara said, her smile cold. Cockiness kills more men than bullets. She was right, but 17-to-1 odds would test even her skills. Jacob had seen her practice underground, her speed unreal. But pregnancy was slowing her balance, her stamina, her quick moves. Clara! He grabbed her hand as she reached for ammo. We can still change our minds. Run tonight. Be in Mexico before they know. She shook her head. Our child deserves better, Jacob. Parents who face their demons and win. Her words steadied him. This wasn't just revenge, it was for their child's future. Running Bear'll have horses at Devil's Canyon, Jacob said. If it goes right, we're across the Rio Grande in a week? And if it doesn't? Clara asked, eyes steady. Then our child will hear about parents who fought, not ran, he said. She nodded, satisfied. I can live with that legacy. They made love one last time as dawn neared, with desperate softness and silent prayers. It might be their last moment to pretend the world was just their cave and their love. Afterward, Clara did something unexpected. She gave Jacob the wooden cross their dad made. For luck, she said. Papa said faith is what's in your heart. Let's see what we're carrying. Jacob tucked the cross into his pocket, its weight familiar. Their dad carved it when faith was simple, family was safe. Now it would see whatever justice they delivered. Time to go, Clara said, checking the horizon where light was showing. Jacob grabbed his weapons. His dad's Winchester, a Colt revolver, a knife that saved him before. Clara carried her Derringer, a Smith & Wesson, and a hidden blade. They climbed to the surface together, leaving their hideout for the crisp air. 4 months of hiding were over. The next hours would decide if they'd see another season. Jacob? Clara stopped where their paths split, her face pale in the dim light. If something goes wrong, nothing will, he said. But if it does, she touched her belly, promise our child will know we loved each other, that we died for something big. The thought of raising their child alone, explaining their love, felt impossible. I promise, he said, pulling her close. But you'll be there to tell them. Her kiss tasted like goodbye and forever, like every beautiful and terrible thing they'd shared. I love you, Jacob Thorne, she said. Brother, lover, partner, whatever we are. I love you more than life, and I love you. Clara Thorne, he said, more than God, salvation, or my soul. They parted, moving to their spots with perfect trust. Jacob climbed the ridge. Clara went to the valley, each carrying the other's heart into battle. The Garrett camp spread across a clearing 2 miles from the mine. Jacob studied it through binoculars, noting defenses, guard shifts, and the brothers at the center. It was a strong setup, but not perfect, with gaps and blind spots. Thomas Garrett stood by a big tent, his face showing cruel smarts. William paced nearby, hand near his gun. Marcus, the oldest, cleaned a rifle with steady moves. 14 hired guns moved with lazy confidence. Men who'd killed so long they forgot to fear death. But Jacob had learned something in the mountains money couldn't teach. When you fight for something you love more than life, you can do impossible things. Clara appeared at the tree line at sunrise, moving like a tired, pregnant woman. Her act was perfect, stumbling, holding her belly, calling out in a broken voice. Thomas Garrett, I need to talk. The camp went quiet, guns drawn fast. Thomas stepped forward, looking pleased. Well, Clara Thorne, as I live and breathe. Come to give up. Come to bargain, Clara said, stopping 30 yards away in the open. My brother's dead. Mining accident 3 days ago. I'm alone, pregnant, tired of running. Jacob watched Thomas's face shift, calculating like he was counting cash. This was what Clara predicted, greed over caution. Dead, huh? Convenient, Thomas said. Why should I bargain? Clara touched her belly, the move clear even from Jacob's spot. I'm carrying the last thorn. I know where Jacob hid 2 years of gold, and you're not the type to waste something valuable. The trap was set. Jacob saw it in Thomas's stance, how he moved closer despite his men's nerves. Greed was making him dumb, just as Clara planned. What do you want for this info? Thomas asked. Safe trip to Mexico for me and my child. A chance to vanish and not bother you. Thomas laughed, the sound loud in the mountain air. You don't get to make demands, girl. Tell me where the gold is and I'll make your death quick. Same for the kid you're carrying. The threat made Jacob's blood boil, but he stayed still. This was Clara's moment. The gold's in the mine, Clara said, sounding defeated. 5th tunnel, behind a rockfall Jacob caused before he died. You'll need dynamite. Jacob watched Thomas talk to his brothers, their faces lit with greed. 2 years of gold was worth thousands, enough for power and respect. William, take 8 men to the mine, Thomas ordered. Marcus, you and the rest keep our guest cozy. Perfect. Clara had split their forces, making the odds better. 9 men stayed in camp, spread out in spots that would become traps once Jacob started shooting. Clara was led to the camp's fire, hands loosely tied, another mistake from cocky men. She sat quietly, playing defeated, but memorizing everything, ready to turn submission into attack. The sun rose higher, warming the valley, lengthening shadows for cover. Jacob checked his dad's watch. 7:30. William's group would reach the mine in an hour, lost in the tunnels when the fight began. At 8:15, an explosion echoed, William's men blasting the rockfall Clara described. The Garretts cheered, thinking of gold they'd never get. At 8:30, Clara signaled, adjusting her hair in their practiced code. She was ready. Jacob aimed at Marcus Garrett's chest, whispering a prayer for damned souls and dangerous love. Papa, if you're listening, help us protect what matters. The watch ticked to 8:31, marking when love would demand its price. The dynamite Jacob stole from Running Bear exploded like God's judgment, sending fire and rock skyward from the Garrett's supply depot. The blast shook the valley, and chaos bloomed like deadly flowers. Marcus Garrett's head snapped back as Jacob's shot hit him square, dead before he fell. The Winchester's boom echoed, signaling the hunt was now a slaughter. Clara moved like lightning, her tied hands finding the knife in her sleeve as Thomas turned toward the shot. Her derringer appeared like magic, killing the nearest gunman before he could draw. It's a trap, Thomas yelled, but his voice was lost in the chaos as Jacob's second shot dropped another man. Kill the woman! Clara wasn't where she'd been. Pregnancy slowed her a bit, but years of fighting taught her to use surprise and men's underestimating her. Jacob's third shot broke a water barrel, sending steam to hide Clara's deadly work. His fourth shot stopped a man trying to sneak around her, spinning him like a toy. Through his scope, Jacob watched Clara fight with breathtaking skill, moving like smoke, killing, then vanishing. Her derringer fired with perfect aim. Thomas tried to rally his men, shouting orders to find the sniper and pin Clara. $500 for her head! Jacob moved along the ridge, using the land he knew to stay ahead of their guns. A bullet whizzed by his ear, but his shot silenced the shooter forever. 7 down, 6 left, plus Thomas. Smart, experienced men who knew they were losing. Clara's ammo was low. Jacob saw her move carefully, saving shots. She hid behind a flipped wagon, her breath puffing in the cool air. Clara Thorne. Thomas's voice was thick with rage. Surrender and I'll make it quick. Keep fighting and I'll shoot you slow. Let you die thinking about what I'll do to your kid. Jacob's finger tightened, but Thomas stayed hidden, too smart to show himself. Clara answered with her derringer's last shot, dropping a man sneaking up. Her gun clicked empty, and she switched to her revolver. Big talk from a guy hiding behind others, Clara called. Face me yourself, Thomas. Show everyone you're a big man. Her taunt worked. Thomas stepped out, face twisted, gun in hand. You want me? Come. Get me. Jacob had a clear shot, but something told him this was Clara's moment. She rose like a ghost, revolver steady despite everything. For a second, they faced the man who ruined their family. "This is for Samuel and Martha Thorne," Clara said clearly. "For the kids we used to be." Both guns fired. Thomas's shot missed, rushed, and angry. Clara's hit his chest, staggering him. "Impossible," Thomas gasped, staring at the blood. "Just a woman." Clara's second shot hit his heart, dropping him dead. His eyes stared at the sky, empty. The silence was heavy. 6 hired guns lay dead or dying, their confidence gone with their lives. The Garrett brothers, feared for 20 years, were done, ended by a pregnant woman and her brother's love. Jacob came down the ridge, moving fast but careful. William's group would hear the noise and return soon.